You know what's better than a big model of an airplane engine? A cutaway model of an airplane engine. And you know what's better than that? Well, that would be a working model of an airplane engine. But hold on. I gotta show you how I built this thing. When it comes to building models, obviously, I like building model airplanes the most. And my favorite part of the build has always been the engine. And I've built quite a few of them. Yep. Yeah, yes. And this is probably why I was approached by StirlingKit.com and asked to build this working 1/20th scale model engine. What I like the most about this model is that it's a cutaway and it's designed to show what's going on inside the jet engine. It really reminds me a lot of those open engines you see in air museums. This is one of the many 3D printed engines that are featured on their website. And in addition to cutaway engine models, they have a ton of other engines and all sorts of interesting models available. So if you're in the mood for a working model, you should go check them out. I linked the website in the description. This kit is called the RT900, which I think is short for Rolls-Royce Trent or the Rolls-Royce Trent jet engine. And here's the real thing. Now, I'm not an expert on high bypass turbofan engines, so I had to go on the interwebs to find out more. And you'll find 4 of these big boys on that gargantuan Airbus A380. You know, the big double-deck airplane. As an aside, I actually saw one of those A380s on a recent trip that I took. It sure dwarfed the puddle jumper I arrived on. StirlingKit.com shipped me this kit direct, and let me tell you, the packaging is the truth. Every part is individually honeycombed in foam, and all is housed within a thick cardboard box. Nothing was broken on my example. I don't think it'd be even possible to break a part. And if I had to estimate, I'd say this package could survive a 3 megaton near miss. And everything is in there. The engine parts, fan blades, a little electric motor, and a lot, and I mean a lot, of nuts and bolts. As expected in this day of IKEA, this kit includes both types of Allen keys or Allen wrenches, if you will. And rather unexpected, there were 2 very helpful 3D printed tools designed to hold a few of the many nuts that are going to be used to construct this engine. The only thing missing was printed instructions. Although, not to worry, there are 2 of those boxy scanner code thingies you can target with your phone. Those will open links to digital instructions and an assembly video. Now, I'm of 2 minds on this. On one hand, I'm old school. I like paper instructions. I like looking through them, marking them up. I don't know. It's just the way I'm used to building a model, so I printed my instructions. But on the other hand, I get it. Once the build is over, paper instructions are usually discarded. At least around here they are. So, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know if you like paper instructions or you're okay with digital. Once I got the parts sorted out, the build goes rather quickly. Most of the parts require 0 cleanup, and I highly recommend smoothing out the parts that you do require to snip here and there. You don't want anything to catch on this working model, so a little extra care with the nippers and a knife will go a long way. There are about 13 steps in the construction of this engine. Basically, you start by building up several sub-assemblies and then you gradually line them up and bolt them together. Starting with the compressor section, I aligned the numbered parts, I slipped them on the spindle, and they slid into place. These 3D parts were a snap fit, and they held in place much better than I expected. In fact, I didn't use glue at all for this build. And I did make a couple of mistakes when building, but since the sub-assemblies come apart easily, both mistakes were easily corrected. When I first opened the kit, I could swear the parts, or at least some of them, were metal. And actually everything except for the fasteners and the little electric motor is 3D printed and painted in different shades of metallic paint. This being the first 3D print kit, I learned a couple of things while I built it. One, when I had to nip the parts, I found the plastic was both tougher to cut and more brittle than the styrene that I'm used to. If I had a little bit of imperfection where I used the nippers, sanding them was also a little difficult to do. So I went with my trusty scalpel blade. Now again, the plastic is not easy to cut or shape, so I took my time and I cut carefully those stray bits here and there. And well, that said, the parts were durable. They all had a very good weight to them. The combustion chamber was a real nice piece of 3D design and printing. And there are two C-shaped pieces that slide perfectly into their slots within this assembly to complete it. And then the fuel jets are simply snapped into place. All very cool. I was very impressed with that. Then I started to build up the sub-assemblies into the jet engine. The fan sections slot into their housings and are pinned into place, and then these sections are stacked one on top of the other with smooth running ball bearing cartridges. And that is where the nuts and bolts got serious. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of them. And once they're all on, there is no way this engine is ever going to fall apart. I guarantee it. Now, most of the time I was able to just hold the nut in place with one finger and I twisted the bolt in with the Allen key. But there were spots where I made use of those 3D printed tools to help keep the nuts in place. I found that once I got into a decent groove, this part of the build went really quickly. The little electric motor mount is also a neat piece of 3D printing. Again, without any glue, everything locks firmly and precisely into place, and it's very solid. So again, I was also very impressed with this aspect of the model. Truth be told, since most of the parts come detached and cleaned up for you, the model goes together very quickly. I could have built the entire thing in an evening without much trouble, except when I got to the second last step. There is a 3D printed gear that is supposed to turn freely on a post under the fan housing. Unfortunately for me, mine was printed a little too small, or to be more precise, the opening was just not big enough to fit on the post. And of course, Murphy's Law, that night I did not have the correct drill on hand or the correct drill bit on hand to open it. So after a quick trip to the hardware store, I carefully opened the hole using a 9/64 drill bit. And I say carefully because I wanted it to spin freely but not rattle around on the post and get bound up in there. But once the gear was properly in place, everything else went together with even more bolts. And there you have it. All done in a couple of evenings. On its own, it's a very attractive model of a jet engine. And better than that, it's one that's cut away to show off the innards. And the size is just right for a desk or a bookshelf model. And like I said earlier, I love building engines on my airplanes. Now, the purpose of this model is to show how a passenger jet engine works over than to be a 100% accurate reproduction of a Trent engine in 1/20th scale. So, speaking of which, let's flip the switch and see if this thing works or not. Hey, there you go. It does. I love how the front and the aft turn one way while the compressor blades turn in the opposite direction. I suspect that's how the real thing works. And I tell you, the little intern really loved this kit and even showed it off to her friends. So, if you're into engines or if you have any interest in making a straightforward working model, you should head on over to sterlingkit.com and check out what they have. So until next time, keep building and try something new with every build.